Hello, and welcome to American in Yerevan. We have just got finished listening to I'm Beginning to See the Light, a very, very cool rendition of that song. I'm so thankful that we have Mary in the studio because we just listen to awesome music all the time.
Good evening, our dear listeners. Tonight we are discussing New Beginnings.
This is an English-speaking, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is an English-speaking program called American in Yerevan. I'm Stephen Oxner. I am an American, and I'm sitting here with Ina MK.
And I'm Armenian.
Am
I?
Are you still?
I am Armenian.
Well,
I kind of had a doubt for a second.
That's fitting
Yeah.
in a way. Something that we'll get to later. Every day, every Wednesday and Friday, we meet here at Radio Von, and from 9 to 11 p.m. we discuss one theme. We pick a theme and we talk about what kind of cultural associations we can find in America.
And you cannot imagine
Armenia.
how interesting dialogues we have.
You can't imagine.
when we are not on air.
That's not the right thing to say. You can't imagine the interesting dialogues that we have on the air.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about new beginnings, which can take form in a lot of different ways. We've discovered in preparation for this episode. It can take place in where you live and what you wear.
And what you are.
And what you
and
are.
who you are.
And what you have on your face.
And on your head.
And around you. And what you can give birth to.
And what you have inside.
And the things you read.
And the things you use.
And the things you see.
To call people.
It's amazing how many new beginnings we can experience, even just in one day, don't you think? But
yeah,
definitely in the course of our lives.
Like new impressions we get, for instance.
For instance, from art, you mean? Or
even every morning is a new beginning, so...
Yeah. So before we meet the next morning, which will be tomorrow morning, we're going to expound upon this issue of new beginnings and what does that mean. So don't go away and give us your calls if you have a story about having a new beginning.
And don't be afraid to speak English. We're here to help you.
We're here to help you.
560901.
Stick around listening to another of my favorites, Stevie Wonder, I'm New.
We're listening to Let the Healing Begin by Joe Cocker, and we're back in our studio with Stephen Oxner.
And Ina MK.
Discussing new beginnings, Stephen, and you know what? New beginnings.
Tons of songs about this, too, I've noticed.
Yeah, I guess.
Which we'll listen to more of.
And you know what, Stephen? Well, we go back to my trip to America.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course.
Well, yeah, because
that was
it
a
was
huge
like
new beginning.
It was a huge, new, scary, and
probably
amazing,
overwhelming,
and
amazing.
Exciting at the same time. Beginning for me, and for my parents, of course. You know, because when I told them that, you know what, dear parents, I passed all these tests. I was chosen among like thousands of students to study in the U.S. Like there were 50 students.
From thousands.
Yeah, to go into each state. And they were like looking at me like, no, okay, what are we supposed to do now? Where are you going? Our dear only child. What kind of family it is? How are you supposed to live halfway around the world? What are you going to do? What will we do if something happens to you? You know, all these questions and all the pressure.
The fear of the unknown.
Yeah, the fear of the unknown. And at the same time, the excitement of the unknown and new stuff for me. Well, basically, I was really excited and I really wanted to go. I wasn't scary to go. I wasn't scared to go. But my parents were really, really, freaked out. They're like... I think that was one of the hardest decisions they made connected with me. But I'm really thankful to them because they let me choose. They said, okay, you choose because you have to go. We're really worried about this thing. But you just have to go, because if you don't, you're gonna blame us
For the rest of your life. You're going to have regret and blame.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
They're
and
probably right.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
And that's...
So they were strong.
They were strong. They
put
for
you on
which
the
I'm really
airplane.
thankful to them, because it was a really, really right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a growing experience for me, for which I don't ever regret, because I learned a lot from that new life that I entered. Like, it was a totally new world to me, with new attitudes, with new worldviews, with new mentality. You know how it is, Steven.
Yeah.
And so new is always good, I think, because whatever change you have, it's still teaching you something. So it's a growing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you know all those feelings, because you were the one who moved to Armenia, not only for one exchange year, but you
moved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you moved here.
Yeah.
So would you like to share what kind of a new beginning it was for you, Steven?
I would love to. I've made several of these new beginnings in my life, because the first one was going to college. I went to college in a different state, so it was like I was cut off from my family in a way for the first time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to Chicago, which was even farther away.
I love Chicago.
Chicago's great. Oh, it's a great town. Yeah.
I've
And then
been
I
there.
promised myself I would move back to Chicago after I went to school in Moscow, where I went and made another new beginning. But that
Did
new
you?
beginning moved me here. So it's like every step is a little bit farther and farther away. Although I think geographically maybe we're closer here than we would be in Moscow. I would have to check that one. But here, in terms of mentality and in terms of lifestyle, it's definitely the most new experience I've ever had in my life.
I bet.
And it's funny because when you start something new, there are all of these expectations, you know, like, oh, I'll be able to do that and this and that and this, and then I'll do that and this and this and that. And then
life has
after
a
a little
lot of
while-
surprises for
yeah,
you.
yeah, just like they say, if you want to make the gods laugh, tell them your plans.
About your plans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So then life kind of sets in and you start to notice, oh, actually, what was it that I thought I wanted in this new place? Because a lot of the same kind of issues of life, you know, not necessarily problems, but you know, the things we have to do every day to keep going, and the kind of
And things that you're
tensions.
not used to dealing with,
yeah,
which is also stressful.
they come
It
up,
doesn't matter if it's good or bad for somebody else.
right?
It's different.
But the interesting thing is that it is different, and I notice my beginnings, the new beginnings, mostly when I go home, to be honest, because every time I go home, I see how much everything looks differently to me because of how I've changed.
Oh, it kind of remind me of one thing. When I went back to our apartment where I lived, like from all my childhood, then we left. We were getting it for rent for 10 years,
Right,
and then we
I
had to
remember.
come back. When I came back, and I was so anxious to see the rooms, and especially my room where I was spending most of my time. When I entered it, I was so disappointed because it looked like it was so small.
Oh, yeah, right.
It was so small.
Oh, yeah. This happened to
So-
me with my elementary school. When I went back to my
Really?
elementary school, I was like, what? It's so small. What is that?
Yeah, so it's us who are changing, actually.
Oh, right. Yeah,
I
of
guess.
course. Weird about the physical space thing, though, don't you think? Because I
Yeah.
can see, like, okay, my mentality has changed. I've become more accepting in this way, or like, my lifestyle doesn't need to be supported by like this kind of standard of living that's in America. And then I come home and I see how like locked a lot of my family and friends are in that mentality of needing to have a certain level of comfort around them.
But don't you still find those things inside of you? Still.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, of course. It's like a patience game, really.
Yeah.
But then it's weird, like if you go back and you see a space that seems smaller, how can it physically it seems like a different game?
Yeah, it's
Me.
optic. Excuse me. It's optic.
Yeah. Like an experiential
Yeah.
optical illusion.
Yeah, illusion.
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe we should come back to that when we come back. We'll have some more songs. Next up, we will be listening to "You Make Me Feel," brand new by Simply Red, and we have a lot of songs about feeling new, feeling good. There
I
was
love
that
that
Michael
song.
Bublé song. Remember when he says you feel good because it's all new.
Yeah,
It's like that expectations thing again.
we have bunches of stuff
Weird.
to discuss, and I wonder, are we gonna have enough time today?
Are we gonna? you
As
still wonder
always.
that? It's funny that you wonder that still. I don't know how.
I hope.
How to wonder those things anymore. It's true. We won't have enough time, Ina. Welcome back. You are still listening to 103.0 Radio Vaughan. This is a program, an evening program called American in Yerevan with Ina MK.
And Steven
And we're
Oxner.
sitting in the studio today talking about new beginnings.
Steven,
Ina.
you're new as daddy.
Yeah. I knew it was going to come up. It had to come up today. Yes.
Me too,
Yes.
actually.
And you're
But you're newer.
relatively new. I'm newer.
Newer.
I'm a newer daddy than you are a new mommy.
Mommy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about this?
I would love to. My mom says, actually, and I agree with her 100%, that the biggest change that one experiences in their lives is that moment when the baby is put into your care.
Yeah. When you
Because
feel
You're
responsible
like living
for
this
it.
free life. You can eat popcorn when you want to. You can go for walks when you want to. You can,
Yeah, you can go outside
Yeah.
when it's like in the evening
or
at
really
whatever
cold out.
time
Yeah, yeah,
you want.
yeah. In the morning, you can
don't
wake
have
up
to
whenever you
feed
want.
anybody.
Right? Yeah, you feed yourself. Oh, that's not too hard. And then all of a sudden, boom. Oh.
And nobody has the hiccups that you need to take care of.
I have to say that the biggest change in my life so far was having a child, and it was weird when the new beginning became a new
Began?
life. Yeah. Well, when it was no longer a beginning, because the first month went by like we blinked and it went by because it's just there's so much to learn, and then the second month kind of went by really quick. And then we took a trip, went to go show our daughter to my side of the family in America. And so that was all like, really fast and really, there were a lot of
It was
events.
a
It was
hassle.
eventful. No, it was actually not very hard, but it was really eventful, and really went by really fast. And then we came back here, and in November, I remember feeling like, oh, okay, it's no
I'm a
longer the
daddy.
beginning anymore. And that transition was very similar to a lot of new beginnings that I've had in my life, where it's like when they say the honeymoon wears off and the
Yeah.
personal work comes up, where I have to see how my life in the way of my own personal life fits into this role of being a father. What was your experience?
You have to combine, Steven. Combine.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to find a balance. Well, I've read that most of the women feel that they're moms, right? Even before the child is born. Like when the child isn't there inside of them, they already feel that they're mommies. And men are different in this
Biological sense?
Yeah.
Because
Because-
I didn't carry anyone
Well,
in my
not
body.
only biological, but psychologically, like they start to feel that they are daddies when they start to take care of the child,
Mm-hmm.
start to be responsible
Yeah.
for it,
Yeah.
and start to get attached to it,
Mm-hmm.
which is the most important.
Which is maybe what happened to me in November, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's right,
wow.
exactly.
I have like all of
Well,
these new feelings.
I had like after birth psychological conversations with with moms. Was this place where I was visiting
Mm-hmm.
with a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
with who we were having these interesting conversations. It was like a special place for mommies or mommies to be,
Uh-huh.
or after birth period.
For
thing.
understanding your own
Yes.
process of
Mhm.
psychology in it? Wow, cool.
And one
That's
of the
awesome.
one of the dialogues I really conversations that I really remember, and which for me was really important, is to for each woman it is important after they become a mom to realize that to know how to separate your own self as mother, as a wife, as a personality, so that you don't forget that you're still a woman, you're still a person with your own interests. So, but which happens to a lot of women. They don't see themselves as in other role in life. They only see themselves as mother, which they don't quite realize until they speak about it, or until they have this conversation. So it was really interesting to discuss and to understand, because still, because again, it's the same thing, to keep the balance. Because when you feel that you're a good mommy, but you're not satisfied with yourself as a woman, for instance, or as a growing personality, here comes up this balance.
Yeah.
And you start an argument inside yourself. And you're not a happy mommy as well, and your child feels
Suffers
it because
from that,
they always feel it. No matter how you hide it, your children always feel, because they are your mirrors. So this is one of the new beginning experiences for me, was to realize all this and to keep the balance, to be happy.
That's awesome. We can use this lesson from Ina MK. So just to give
it's free.
If I have a wish for all of the new mothers and old mothers, experienced mothers and inexperienced mothers and fathers, keep yourself in this process, because for the children, do it for the children at least, right?
Yeah, but no, do it for yourself.
No, but keep yourself for yourself.
Yeah.
And if you can't
so
just
that
accept
your
that,
children
then
have happy parents.
Exactly.
We
have a caller. Hello.
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 Good evening, Steve.
Good evening. How are you?
Very well. And how
Steve,
are
you
today?
interrupted my conversation with Irene.
I wanted to include everyone
We
in
were
the
just
conversation
having a
with
nice
Irene.
chat, a girly
You guys,
chat.
You can't have a secret chat without the rest of us.
Okay.
How are you
give
this
up.
evening, Irene?
Very well, Steve John. Your today's stuff is very interesting.
Oh.
Because I had a lot of new beginnings in my life, and I guess I have a lot of things to tell about.
Cool.
Tell away.
As my English teacher said, let's get started.
Let's get started.
Well, I used to go to musical school. I played the piano, though today I also from time to time play the piano. And the greatest dream of my childhood was to become a good musician. I used to write instrumental musical works. So, but when I graduated my 8th year, and it was summer holiday, I began to read a lot of books from British literature in a really.
Hey, Irene, I'm sorry. Can you please turn off a little bit your radio, or did you do that? Because we had
there was some
something.
static.
Yeah.
There was
Okay.
static. Uh-huh.
Cool. Keep going.
And I said to my parents, you know what? I want to become an interpreter. They said, okay, begin to learn, study English grammar and oral speech, Oral speech and Armenian, of course, because a lot of people think that they are Armenian and know it, but it isn't so.
It's not for sure.
Because if a teacher gives a dictation, I'm sure they'll make a lot of mistakes. So I began to study, and it was a new beginning, of course. But when I graduated my school, and in 2 months I was going to give my exams, I said again, you know what? I don't want to become an interpreter. I want to
What
become
was
a
it?
lawyer.
Oh, goodness. A third new beginning.
You change your mind so often.
My parents said you are crazy.
You know, Irene, good it wasn't a doctor, because that would be a tough one.
I didn't love history then. I didn't study it well, and I had to give it and to write 90 questions or tickets. In 2 months, I said, okay, I'm crazy, but I'm going to become a lawyer. In 2 months, in hot summer, without sleeping,
Oh, that was a challenge.
and I studied all my tickets. We say tickets. Am I right?
Your tickets?
Yeah, the questions.
Ah,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
The questions, and then fortunately I passed all my exams, and today everyone respects me because I become a lawyer, and I'm very proud. But in my life I also have a circle including 5 years. I mean, every 5 years is over, I begin something new.
No, I think there is a certain psychological. I think it's every 7 years when you have a
psychological rebirth.
Yeah, rebirth type of thing. You have to start something new to get out of the crisis.
So you're living in fast forward a little bit, Irene.
Yeah, Irene.
It's not every 7 years, but
Irene
every
is
5
always
years something
ahead
changes.
of all the
Thank
things.
you, Ina. Then in that, something is wrong with my English today because for 1 week I didn't speak to you.
Ah,
You
yes,
need to
yes,
practice
you have to
more
practice
frequently.
This way, one day I started to learn French, one of the most beautiful languages in the world. Last year I started to learn Italian, and it is very beautiful. And
Irene, you speak all these languages?
Italian not very well, but French well.
That is
Amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
French, English,
Russian.
Russian, and Armenian.
And by the way, I know Armenian well.
Ah,
I can say well.
uh-huh.
Good
Well,
job.
And I hope one day I'll speak Italian very well and English with your help.
Oh,
I
your
can already
English
say
is-
that you
yeah.
speak English well.
So you just need a little practice.
Just some confidence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and confidence.
Yeah.
Irene, is there a song you'd like to listen to?
Of course, let's listen to my favorite group band called Play.
Mm-hmm.
Let me choose.
Take
one.
your time.
Atlas. Atlas, or
What is it
One
again?
more time?
Atlas.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we know
Okay.
that song. Okay, you'll listen to it after we finish our dialogue.
Yeah, well, listen to it
Stay-
right now. Here it comes. Atlas by Coldplay. Thank you,
Cool.
Irene.
Thank you.
very
Have a
much.
nice evening. Thanks for calling, as always.
Thank you.
We are still here in the studio at 103.0 Radio Vaughn, listening to tunes and talking about new beginnings. One of the most notable new beginnings that people experience in their lives is new relationships. You can always tell by someone's, their eyes.
Eyes.
Yeah. How, that person just fell in love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. How they fly.
Yeah.
Almost fly.
Yeah, in English they say you're on cloud 9.
Yeah.
You're on cloud 9. I don't know why it's the 9th cloud. That would be interesting to find
And that
out.
movie, 3 meters above the
Above the
Well-
ground? 3 meters above the...
sky.
Oh, I don't know that.
3 метра над уровнем неба.
Ah, above the
That's a
level of the sky.
famous teenage
I'm
movie.
sorry.
How can you, Steven?
Maybe it was the translation or something?
Yeah, maybe. It's a Spanish movie.
Oh, maybe that's why. Americans, they only watch movies from Hollywood.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever noticed this.
You're not like that, Steven. You watch all kinds of 3 meters above the sky. Yeah.
3 meters above the sky. I haven't seen it. It's something I'll watch.
It's a teenage love movie.
Oh, cool. That's it. This is what
It's everything.
It's like what we
passion,
remember.
first love, betrayal, all kinds of stuff.
Everything changes when you fall in love. Everything. And people go crazy about it, right?
Yeah. Everything changes inside you. Everything changes around you.
Yeah. Yeah, you see the whole world with new eyes.
I see trees of green, red roses bloom.
I see them bloom
for me and you. I think we should probably start a singing project, Steven.
Should we?
Yeah, don't you think?
I don't know.
I'll write some lyrics.
We should get Irene to tell us if that's a good idea.
Yeah, she's our consultant.
Outside eye or ear, so that we can figure out if that's a real
Maybe next time when she calls, we'll ask her. Okay, Steven, are you in love now?
Yes.
E.
Yeah. It's funny because in love, well, who knows? In love is like something that happens to you, you know? And it's like it's a period of time that just like when it's like the honeymoon period, you know, and it goes away.
Yeah, being in
and
love
that's very different from love, right?
Total different
being
things.
In love.
Agreed.
But yeah, you can totally be
we
in love.
We agree on that, Steven. Can you imagine? Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now. Can you imagine?
I'm
reading a book right now. It's called Rehearsal My Love by Anatoly Efros. He's a legend from Russian theater. And I really associate with some of what he's saying right now in terms of having a rehearsal being, it's like a process where every day you come in and there's like a new kind of falling in love with the process of rehearsal. And I am rehearsing a new play right now called Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss at the Puppet Theater that will hopefully be ready by May. And I think I'm in love with the process because it's really fun. We have yodeling monkeys.
Yeah, you told me. I always associate that sound, that way of singing with the gnomes.
Yeah, with the gnomes.
Yeah. Steve, and I'm reading a book right now which is called The Art to Love, or
I read that book.
Art of Love.
That's
like
a great
Eric
book.
Fromm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way he describes stuff.
Very
from the psychological point.
Very dry perspective of what love is and how there is artistry in it.
Of course, there is. And that it's a permanent work.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with our topic of this not this episode, but this time of talking about falling in love and getting into new relationships. Because that's
let's go back to that.
You don't try, right? There's no trying or work or anything. It's like
it just happens.
Everything is new. I just feel everything new, and the whole world is new.
So
and
all the excitement that you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Especially for the
person. I'll go to the ends of the earth for you. Yeah.
I'll conquer the world.
I'll kill all of the dragons.
Yeah.
And I'll climb up your hair, and I'll save you from this palace, this dark palace.
Oh, Steven, it's all clear with a new sense. When you're in love, it's not all clear, but it's basically the same. What about ending relationship? Because it's still new beginning.
Yes.
And the end of something is something new that has to begin.
I've had quite a few relationships, very serious relationships in my life, and each time it ends. I hope this doesn't offend anyone in my life, but it's like that's.
Bittersweet.
No, it's even more enjoyable than the beginning, to be honest, because it's like there's so much freshness in saying I'm not. I'm in saying I'm not something. Oh man, you're looking at me with that look.
You can sing I'm
smiling
new.
at you because I don't understand what you're talking about, Steven. But you have to say this. Yes, it's bitter, of course, because you're attached to the person. You thought you would be with that person for forever, because that's what you feel like at the beginning, right? I'll be with you forever. I'll kill all the dragons. I'll go to the end of the earth. Then you have to let go of that. But then the thing that comes with it is like a new perspective of everything.
Yeah, and can we agree on this thing? Let me bring an example. Maybe you can agree with me on that point. Yeah. Like, let's say you have an aching tooth.
Okay.
And you're so used to having this tooth. You almost love it.
Yeah, that
because
tooth
you
chewed
chew
all of
on
the food
yeah, and you're so
of my
thankful
life
for it.
to this day.
Yeah, but then the doctor
It's
tells you,
rotten.
yeah, it's rotten. We need to get rid of it.
Yeah,
So what we do,
yank it out.
yeah, we get rid of it. So still, tooth is really good thing, but if it's rotten, you need to get rid of it.
This reminds me of what you told me about what your dad said that one time.
Yes, this
like
is
the
what
appendix, right?
Yes, this is what I was
The appendix is
going to tell
okay,
next.
Go ahead.
So do you agree with me on this?
Yes,
thing, that
yes.
still
This
there
is-
is a little bit bitterness on
Of
that.
course,
of
there's-
losing this
Oh,
dear tooth that you
yes,
put
it's
so much
torture.
effort to grow.
absolute torture. There's a hole in your mouth.
Yes.
Just like there's a hole in
Oh,
your
your
heart when
heart.
you lose someone. This is true.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. American and Armenian agreed on something.
This is cultural dialogue.
Yes.
We are having a summit as we speak.
Okay, so as every human as every human being, I also had. Can you imagine? I
You've
also
had
had
the end of relationships.
Yeah, I
Okay,
also
tell
had
me
an
what you
end of
think.
relationship. It was kind of complicated relationship that I had, and I had this conversation with my dad, which I really still remember, and I will keep it inside for future reference. It was, well, when we were talking together, and he felt that I had doubts inside, and this relationship didn't really have chances to work.
To survive.
Yeah, to survive.
I see.
What he said was just really, in a really calm and really, confident way. He told me, Ina, appendix is a really good organ.
It's a really good organ.
Yeah.
It does a lot for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's not healthy, if it's sick,
Yeah.
you need to cut it off.
You need to extract the appendix.
Full stop. And that's it. That was it. That was my lesson that I learned. And that was the end.
And you can move on.
Yeah,
Right.
and well, even the rehab period was tough, but then after that, I felt that I don't feel that pain anymore in my appendix, so-called.
Yes,
Okay.
this is the illustrative.
Yes.
Illustrative
Allegory.
appendix, allegorical appendix. Yes. Thank you for this story, and thank you for bringing about some kind of agreement.
Of course.
I'm always so pleased when we can finally come to a moment of agreement.
We are so
here on our
different,
show.
but we have so many things in common.
Same, but different.
Let's listen to my favorite.
This is your favorite?
Yeah.
The Sword and the Pen?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Stick with us and give us your calls, 560-901. We're talking about new beginnings today, and we're still here for another 30 minutes. Featuring Justin Timberlake. He sings so well.
He is so cool.
He's so cool. I don't know about his acting, but he
Do you
is such
remember
a
him
cool
in
guy.
singing in the boy
In
band?
Sync, of course.
Not a girl who has everything. I don't remember the lyrics.
Yeah.
So it was like so corny. Now he's grown. See, it was a new beginning for him to start this style.
This style, what
Yeah.
he's doing now, which is like...
Totally different from the boy
it's
band
not
thing.
so sentimental.
Yeah.
It's like, but he's still got that really good sound.
Yeah, it's his
Got that
style.
real high voice. It's cool. Yeah.
But his style, I like the way he dances also.
Yeah, he's a good dancer. That's true. He and Pharrell, if they could just dance together.
Pharrell and Justin, if you listen to our show on 103.0,
Which I know you guys do because we made it really
course you
convenient to
do.
listen to our show in LA. It's the middle of the day right now in LA. You can
Yay.
listen to us really
So
easily.
hello guys, and we'll always
Make a video together.
wait for you here in our studio.
And come,
Okay.
come to Armenia. Be our guests.
Okay, let's get back to our
Okay,
sheep.
yeah. Right. Can we return to our Rams?
Rams, okay. I always say that.
Another inside jokes. Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, here's something. Death.
Steven,
The-
what's wrong?
In a way, because we don't know anything about it at all, it is the ultimate new beginning.
Yeah, you never know what happens next.
Yeah.
So that's why we're so scared of it.
Yeah. And also
Just like any new
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. And also in a way it's like kind of exciting. So we have these religions and stuff, like we think about what's going to happen afterwards, you know, or in some perspectives, I understand the Lord tells us what's going to happen, you know, or what could happen in a lot of ways, or the Buddha tells us that we'll be reborn, yeah, or we'll be free of it if we reach enlightenment. But so there's this other perspective that we can die in life, psychologically. So if I have a personal identification which is like, I am a good son, I'm a good son, I don't do anything my mother wouldn't want me to do, I don't do anything that my father wouldn't want me to do, that in a way it's psychologically keeping me from a certain kind of new beginning. Not necessarily that means I'm going to start doing really bad things all the time, but if I don't live up to the expectations of my father or my mother,
or
then
other social,
other social like
opinions,
mothers and cultural mothers, then
neighbors,
I'm locked in the expectations, and I can't make new beginnings for myself in the way that is possible, right? Can you think of any examples of something that like where a person can't psychologically die because of like their parents or
of course,
yeah,
like in Armenia,
sure, yeah, that's what I mean.
a lot of people live in families, live with people who they are not content with, who they are not happy with. They just live together because for the sake of their children, because, oh my goodness, my parents would have a heart attack, or what would the neighbors say that I'm a divorced,
that's one,
or stuff like that.
Yeah. Is that left over from the Soviet times, do you think?
What happens next is awful. Well, from Soviet times,
or just it's
maybe
been around
it's Armenian.
It's an Armenian thing.
Mentality. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So like I'm living with, like marriage. That's an easy one, right? Marriage here is a
new beginning.
It's a new beginning, but then if it's a marriage that turns into a long and very torturous continuation, then I can't make my new beginning of ending that marriage because of what will my parents think?
Because
what
of
will
the
the neighbors
strings
say?
attached.
Yeah.
Psychological strings that are pressuring your mind, your brain, your consciousness, your everything. You're everything. You're my everything. Yeah. So, like, I have a friend.
So, like, who's your friend?
I'm not going to tell her name.
Okay.
But when we get together, we know that we have to do it in an early hour. Because,
like early in the day?
Yeah. No, not in a day, but like 6-ish, 7-ish.
Okay.
You know, because
Why?
if we do it late, then after 1 hour, her parents will start calling her. And then after her parents do that, her brothers will start calling her and say, oh, where are you? When are you going to come back home? Are you on your way home? Are you in a taxi? Why are you still not home? And we'll go
they're
like,
worried about where, like, she's alone in the city. It's a dangerous.
No, she's at our house, safe and free, safe and sound. No, it's just they're thinking, what would the neighbors say?
Because we have a sister
she's not married girl walking alone late. Where was she?
No.
And
really?
all the neighbors has this question: where was she?
This is really something that's not similar to American culture.
Yeah, that is.
In American culture, that is kind of weird. Which the actual definition of is strangely fascinating. Not weird in a bad way, just whoa.
You know, one of my friends, I'm not going to tell who that was, but it was her.
Let's call her.
Her.
Yes.
That was her.
And
she said today, you know what? I died today, but I'm not telling you so you don't get upset.
I died today, but I'm not telling you so you won't get upset?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. What could that possibly mean?
What could that possibly mean?
Is that kind of like like a phrase just like like that? That kind of like I died today, but I won't tell you?
Yeah, kind of like
an expression
that.
of love?
I guess. I guess that was one of the psychological deaths you were speaking
Is
about.
this? Yeah, I see. Okay.
Because she wants to eat ice cream and she can't. Right, Mary? I'll get you some ice cream.
Oh,
Don't
before
worry.
this gets out of hand, I would like to listen to one of my favorite songs. Well, one of my favorite artists. Maybe not the favorite song, but really cool song, The Neighbors. It fits to the theme that we were just talking about.
What would Dad say?
Yeah,
what would Mom
say?
do?
What would the neighbors think? Yeah, here we go. St. Vincent, The Neighbors. Stick
Don't
around. We have a
give
little
a-
bit more time here.
Heck about what neighbors say.
That is a hella statement. It's now 10:55, and we have listened to St. Vincent, which means that we are coming to a close. We have kind of a new tradition here on American in Yerevan, which is to create some kind of maybe conclusion about our topic for the day. And I think if I was to make a conclusion about new beginnings, it's that. Many times, it seems like we want to change something in our lives. We talked about how someone would move to a different country, like me, or how maybe we didn't talk about this, but somebody would like change their hair, you know, to feel something
that's
new.
what I was gonna say.
And it's like we're creating like new circumstances around ourselves.
But what we need to do, what we most of the time need,
Yeah.
is a change inside of us.
There's something inside that we're actually trying to change.
Yeah, just like when we have these elections or stuff or
Yeah, with
changes
the-
in the country,
yeah,
we
we
think,
want-
oh my gosh, something's gonna change.
Yeah, the system needs to change, and then we'll be
just
happy.
Like after the Soviet Union fell apart,
Right.
a lot of people were expecting changes, or when we quit drinking or smoking or like dieting.
We have
or
a new
something.
diet, yeah, something like that.
We expect a new change
We go
in
to
our lives.
the gym and start
Yeah.
swimming. Yeah.
Just like when the spring comes
Yeah.
and we feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a big change. Or even though every morning when we wake up, we say, oh, it's a new day. It's going to bring a lot of changes, good changes with it.
I wonder if it is.
Or when we do shopping.
Or when we go shopping and I
Yeah.
have these new shoes. These new shoes are going to make me so happy.
Or Steven deleting our Facebook account.
And then making a new one with all the new photos and
Yeah.
the new opinions about God and my favorite TV shows.
Or changing
It's all-
a cell phone number, for instance. Or
Yep.
moving into a new country or a new house.
Exactly. It's like
All kinds of stuff. All kinds of stuff we make up just to feel like we have a change and just to motivate us to start, to start from a new page, from a white list.
turn over
as
a
we
new
say.
leaf
A
in
new
English.
leaf.
Yeah.
So,
It's like, we could do that at any moment. At any moment. Now, for example.
yeah, right now.
Yeah, so now, do the thing you want to do. Change the thing in yourself that you've been waiting to change this whole time.
Okay.
That's
I'll go
our
singing
show.
then.
You'll go singing? Hey, great.
Okay, I think whatever we
Ina's
do,
gonna start singing.
we just choose whatever is the best for us to feel comfortable. Oh,
Yeah, here we go.
look at the song.
We'll listen to the
Steven.
song and you can sing in our studio, yeah? I'll turn off your microphone for now, but
Okay.
maybe we'll
Too
make a
bad.
recording.
Next time.
A duet from Aladdin. A whole new world.
A whole new world.
The song
in
that was
front
made
of
famous by the movie from my childhood. From your childhood too? Aladdin.
That's something in common.
Come back to us. We'll be here on Friday at 9 p.m. You've been listening to American in Yerevan with Ina MK.
And Steven Oxner.
whole new